Hello, Digitized. Thanks for having me. It's nice to be all the way over here. Let's see. Play. There, it works. My name is Daniel. I'm a creative director and partner at Achtung and also Kraftwerk. I'll talk about that later a little bit. And we are from Amsterdam. We are right there in the center of the charming little canal center of Amsterdam. And we're an agency with 40 people from all around the globe. I think 1/3 to half of us is international. And we have a mix of advertising creatives and design people, which is a mix of UX designers, creative technologists, designers, and motion designers. So these are the people that we work for. But that's not really important. What I want to talk about today is, I want to look back a little bit, 10 years back. For me, it's been around 10 years that I started this job. So you can say I'm still a rookie in what I am doing. Especially when I started thinking about, this is my father. And my father has been a cello player, a professional cello player for all his life. He recently retired and he's been working at the same orchestra for 35 years. And he's playing on the same instrument that is about 300 years old. He's playing the same kind of music that's also around that age. So he sort of had all his life to sort of master that one instrument and master that one profession. And obviously he got really good at it. So when you compare that to, well, what I'm doing, what we are all doing right here, that's quite daunting if we're in a profession where we call ourselves craftsmen. I've been doing this profession for 10 years, but in those 10 years I've had 4 different job titles. My instruments get software updates every half year, I mean, not every half hour, that would be really annoying. And also the music that we play, the kind of work that we do, also goes in waves and changes every now and then. This is a little no, this is not the slide. This is Jiro. Jiro Dreams of Sushi. I don't know if any one of you have seen the movie. It's a documentary about an 85-year-old sushi chef. He has a really small restaurant in the subway of Tokyo. I think there's room for 10 people at the same time. And in that little sushi thing that he has there, he got like 3 Michelin stars for that. So he's the best sushi chef in the world, you could say. And still he thinks he's not good enough. He's still looking for that perfection. He has a son that is 50 years old. He's supposed to take over his shop at some point. But his son is not good enough yet to take over. So he's still at 85 trying to make the perfect sushi. So this is a little infographic that I found from Jonathan Lieberman, which is interesting. If you look at the tools that we use, up until '97, there was a lot of innovation, and there was a gap of 13 years where no new tools were introduced. But then around 2010, there was suddenly a big wave of new tools that entered the market. I think Sketch is the biggest one that most of us are using now. So this means that if you look at all of that every year we've got to sort of figure out these new tools and these new ways of working over and over again. Well, then obviously there's been this huge change in styles that we adapt. The biggest difference, I would say, is from the skeuomorphism to the flat design. But there's way more. This is what I remember when I was learning design and I was going online and seeing what was being made. Too advanced. like all the way pixel fonts and this sort of fake 3D that I tried to copy, of course. But I was also later really inspired by high-res, that did really crazy experimental stuff. And then of course Fantasy Interactive with their buttons. And I think these guys, they're still going strong. I have maybe the most respect for in terms of experience sites, North Kingdom. I think I've played Get the Glass so many times. But you can see there's so many different styles popping up, and these were the guys that were sort of pushing it, and that were the icon of that style that I think we've all been looking at. Methods have also been changing. The whole Scrum and prototyping way of working is not new in the developer scene, but in the design world, in our agency, it's really changed fundamentally the way that we work. We used to work on wireframes and templates, and then we'd have a handover with the developers. And now that's way more integrated, and from the very first day that we start working, we work together, design and UX, and we start prototyping, first on paper, but then with different prototyping tools that are available. Some things don't change. In the end, we are all designers, and we've had some sort of a basic education, and we've got the experience that allows us every time again, when we sort of dive into new tools and to new methods, to sort of have a safe fundament of where we are coming from. And those are the principles of design, and there's of course way more of them than just this. So if you layer those different types of changes that we see in our industry, you see that tools, I think, change the most. On top of that, mostly inspired by tech. There is differences in styles, methods, and then the principles that always stay the same. I also started to have a look at the work we did in the last 10 years. And I also noticed actually that a lot of the work you can sort of bundle into different categories. I think when we started, one of the first projects we did was Pac-Man, which is a little Pac-Man game based on a very simple wordplay in Dutch. Pak means suit in Dutch, so it got us a lion, that's how simple it was. I think back in the days it was all about interaction. When we were sort of fighting against the old school way of telling stories through film, advertising, commercials, it was all bullshit. And we said, no, you need to tell a story through interaction. Only if you let people interact with what you want to say, they will understand it. So we would build these huge experiences, these high-energy flash games, sometimes with preloaders of 80 megabytes, which was crazy at the time. We would just accept that people would be waiting 2 minutes to see the website that we had created for them, which I think by now is a bit of a silly idea. Then I think we've all done it at some point, the personal log in with your Facebook or Twitter profile, and we'll create a personal experience for you. We've done a lot of those. And then later on, I think this is before what we call the Internet of Things, we did a lot of campaigns where we tried to make a connection between the physical, the real world, and the digital world. Where people could follow a car that was driving around the country, and the one that would drive the car the longest would win it. We had Germany and Holland play against each other on an iPhone, play penalties, leading up to the big match for the European Cup. And we created a second screen game for the Tour de France. Yeah, that went a bit fast. But I think an important moment for our agency was about 2 years ago, when all of those campaign sites that we would be making, the digital activation, which was sort of at the core of what we were doing, was not so much in favor anymore. And that had to do with a lot of different reasons. I think one of the reasons was that the media consumption really changed. And a big thing that was coming up at that time was branded content, which in a way is way more effective in reaching people on a place where they already are, as opposed to having to pay advertising to bring them to a site that is also advertising. So that put a lot of pressure on the campaign sites that we were doing, and also on the design team that we had running. At the same time, we saw another thing happening, and that was that our clients, our current clients, were getting disrupted by service-driven brands. We work a lot for an automotive company in the Netherlands that imports Volkswagen, Porsche, Audi, etc. And yeah, they're looking around like, what do we need to do? And when I looked around, you see that a lot of those service design-driven agencies, especially the more technical-driven one, they lack the sort of human insights, the creativity that we always put in our campaigns. So that's where we thought, hey, this could be something that we could do. This is something interesting. And at the same time, we got some opportunities. So we created a connected car app for Volkswagen 2 years ago. The app reads out all the data from your car and gives it to the user in a very simple way. For Philips, we created an app that connects to your toothbrush that helps kids to brush better for 2 minutes using a game with these two characters. So this was a new thing for us, and because we knew we were also talking to new kinds of people, as opposed to the marketeers we worked for before. These were the product marketeers or the innovation managers. So we needed a new label, and we called that Studio Kraftwerk, with a focus on digital products and services, but still coming from sort of the creative side that we used to come from. And we position them next to each other. So we have Achtung, which is the communication agency that does campaigns, and Kraftwerk, which is the design agency. Well, since then we have rebranded and redid the whole user experience for Greenwheels, which is the biggest car sharing platform in Holland. We created a loyalty platform for the biggest grocery store in the Netherlands, Albert Heijn. This is one of the projects we did a couple of months ago for KLM. I don't know, I think people know KLM, right? If you know, it's just a Dutch company. KLM has been known to be really innovative in the way that they do their service. And not like the Arabic big air companies that really focus on luxury. They focus on the social side of service. And just like I think a lot of people here, they really take a lot of time looking at the user journey of their customers and see where the pains are, where the gains are. And as you can see, a big part of that, especially for KLM, is the transfer. Actually, for KLM, 70% of the travelers of KLM have a transfer in Amsterdam. So they're not even going to Amsterdam, they're just sitting at the gate, being very bored. So that's when we developed Layover with a Local together with KLM. And best to just show it in a little video.
6 hours is a long time, especially if you're stuck at the airport. That's why we found a way to make time fly. We call it Layover with a Local. It's connecting the thousands passing through the airport with the hundreds of thousands living in Amsterdam. So you can turn your transfer into a trip. Simply open the app and we'll set you up with a local. Grab a free ride into the city and see a side of Amsterdam most travellers miss. Because locals know all the right places, they know where the best Dutch sushi is. Show you all the hotspots of Amsterdam. Or even teach you what a kopstoot is. Wherever you go, first round of drinks is on us. Because for us, it's just one more way to take you somewhere.
Yeah, so that's a layoff with a local. What I like about it is that it's a little bit of a combination of what we did at Achtung. It's a campaign, but it's also a digital service that we developed at the same time. And now I can hear you guys thinking when you see this video, obviously this is a really good deal to all the travelers that are bored in Amsterdam. But what about the locals? What about the people that live in Amsterdam? How the hell are we going to get them so far to sort of be a tour guide for those travelers that are stuck at the airport? Especially as you consider that Holland is not known as the most hospitable country in the world. This is quite terrible, actually. So we knew that we needed to look for intrinsic motivation within the local group to actually start doing this. And we did so by segmenting and really targeting specific groups, for example language students that could learn Italian from a real Italian person. So we worked together with language schools, with expat centers, and obviously the KLM Facebook page that has a huge fan base was a good place to start. So that's the campaign, but what about the app? The app did two things. It, of course, had to do the matchmaking in an intelligent way, but it also had to get people from the gate to the airport. Yeah, so we built an app with a lot of settings that made sure that when you are matched to another person, that you have something to talk about and that you have the right languages to speak together. And to make it easy for the local, we allowed them to set whenever they were available, so they won't get like requests all over the week. And then I bet a couple of people know Tinder around here. So the mechanism is quite simple, a little bit like that. As a traveler, you say that you are looking for a local. The local gets a photo, a little bit of info, he can accept the invite, and the meetup has been confirmed. Then the wayfinding. So we need to get people from the gates, through security, to the train station, getting a train, all the way to Central Station in Amsterdam, without someone to help them. So that was what the app was for. It's a little bit like Google Now inspired, with cards that sort of help you through every step of the way. Up until the moment that people would meet, and we would have the iPhone, if you would tilt it, it would show the name of the person that you were waiting for. Because it was a pilot, oh yeah, this was a pilot by the way, because it was a pilot we handed out physical tickets at first, but we are looking into integrating that functionality in future versions. And we also felt like it should not cost you anything, not for the local and not for the traveler. So we made a deal with 20 bars in Amsterdam where you could get a free drink on us. On KLM, at the bar, of course, not on us. And maybe one very important push notification that KLM needed in order to dare to do this, and that was the notification for the traveler to get back to the airport in time, because obviously they wanted people to have fun, but not too much fun, otherwise the plane would be empty. Yeah, I thought it would be nice to show a little bit of the work, the design process that we went through. Well, first of all, maybe the logo is interesting. We felt like the whole thing should have a very personal, social feel. So our designer has done a lot of versions by hand himself, and it ended up like this. But I think the key sort of design world that we created was this abstract version of Amsterdam. Obviously, because we needed sort of this stage where we could let our characters play. Yeah, also this was a really good way for us to make it charming but still feel like it was KLM. The little houses in the back are actually the houses that you get as a gift when you travel business class with KLM. So we thought it was a nice little detail. And that world we translated throughout the whole campaign in the site, in the app, and in the film that you have just seen. So we ended up on these two characters that you just saw, and we looked a lot around before we ended up on those. The guy on the top right is the typical sort of Dutch guy, sort of like a frat guy with like a blonde mullet and red pants. It's a bit of a caricature, but we thought it would be nice. And then the traveler, that's a tricky one. Who do you choose? Which traveler do you want to welcome in the film? In the end, the rationale became quite simple. Our motion and 3D designer is Canadian. So we ended up using the Canadian with the jacket shirt and the toque. These characters allowed us to give people sort of a sneak peek of what this little moment in Amsterdam could be. And we wanted to sort of convey the idea of friendship, that in an hour in Amsterdam you could build friends for life. And that's why we created these little scenes where a lot of different interesting moments are happening. Key visual, I think we tried a lot of different versions. It's always quite tough to create a natural situation like that. As you can see, should they shake hands, should they be standing next to each other, it all felt a little bit forced. But in the end we ended up on them doing a selfie, which we felt like was a sort of good moment, like, yeah, you've had a good time, let's take a selfie together. And this is a little breakdown of the 3D world with all the sites and the parts of Amsterdam that we have put in. Yeah, and this is the final image. This is sort of where we all build it from. That was KLM. One more thing I want to show you. I think I've got 7 more minutes, if I'm correct, right? Yeah. So this is Porsche. And I think a lot of people would like to drive a Porsche. There's only a couple of things, and the biggest thing is probably money. But what if you could split the money of driving a Porsche between 4 friends? Porsche and us have been developing this new proposition, which is an experiment. And in the background of the business, the idea is that they have a lot of unused occasions standing around different dealerships. How about using technology to make that accessible to a new target group? So that's share a Porsche. So how does it work? Pretty simple. We create a website where you can find all the Porsches that are available. You pick one and you go to the dealer to sign a contract together with the 4 friends that you've invited. And then to make sure that the friends don't get into an argument about who drives more and who has it, we created an app that handles the bookings and also the kilometer bundles, so that everything will be fair and you will not lose your friendship. And yeah, it's really easy for a fixed fee a month. You can drive a Porsche together with 4 friends for 1 or 2 years. Technically, it's just a group lease construction, but we sort of positioned it as more a service for friends. I think this is interesting, because this is a sort of new proposition where technology was needed to actually make this happen. The Porsche business, they had a lot of Porsches that were standing still. There's a lot of people that want to drive a Porsche, but they can't just afford it. And using connected car technology, actually the same technology that we used earlier for the My Volkswagen app, allows you to turn that product into a service. Some more screens. Yeah, a little detail which I like is when someone else had the car, that you would only see the skid marks, which I think is nice for Porsche. This is a booking section, and in the end, everyone would buy kilometer bundles up front, and this is how you could manage that from that. But just like with KLM, we did not just develop a product, we also developed the campaign for this. And the campaign actually started off with the idea that if this is for friends, this is really bringing your friendship to another level, like to a scary level. You need to really, really trust each other if you're going to do this together. In a way, you could say that this is almost like getting married to your friends. And that's actually what we built the whole campaign on. I'll show a little movie.
We are gathered here today to celebrate one of life's greatest moments, to give recognition to the worth and beauty of friendship. Do you take your 3 best friends as your lawful companions to share equally this precious gift with each other? To ride and let ride, to shine and to make it shine. For every ride, on every road, in the spirit of friendship and of mutual trust. I hereby declare you husband, 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 and husband. May the mighty road bless these keys and grant those who use them a life full of thrills. Are you ready to marry your friends for a Porsche?
So this was placed on YouTube. These were annotations, so people could, say yes, I do in Dutch. And that would lead them to a website where the same guy would welcome you. At first, he would ask you to sign a contract, the wedding contract. How do you call that? The marital conditions. Prenup. Yes, thank you. Yes. And from there on, you could invite your friends, and you would see that every time when a friend reacted, you would be led back to the same website, and he would open up another rim box with a Porsche key. And when you had enough friends that accepted your proposal, then you would be officially engaged. I'm just going to skip that. Last thing that they all needed to do was send in the motivation. And we actually only asked for a little line of motivation to tell us, like, why should you and your friends be the ones that get married. But we actually got a lot of sort of extra reactions. These guys, they made a little film talking about why they are already sort of a married couple as a group of friends. Another group of friends, they made a wedding card already, as if they were already going. And maybe interesting, like one little detail. Getting married with 4 friends, it's not easy. It's in Holland, it's illegal, and probably here as well. But for us, this was a serious thing. So we looked around and we found this small region in India. It's called Kinnaur, and they're actually at this moment, there's the winners of this thing. They're in Kinnaur and they're getting married this week over there. Yeah, so these are the guys. Yeah, they were announced 4 weeks ago. They were quite happy. You can see. Well, you can imagine. I mean, I would love it. So yeah. Yeah, so that's happening right now, and we're making a little documentary of what's going to happen there in India. We think it's going to be quite interesting to sort of see like this clash of 4 Dutch guys in this village. Yeah, we'll see how they come back. Yeah. And I think that's a little bit to wrap it up. What I like about the 2 cases that I show. We've had this division between Achtung and Kraftwerk, telling stories, making a promise, and then with Kraftwerk, yeah, the actual service that proves that promise. So I think if you want to do sort of nice marketing these days, it's not just enough to tell great stories, you also need to make great services. Or even better, make great services that tell great stories. So after this is the done slide, but I had a request from a friend in Holland to do a little mention of the Dutch digital design movement that we've got going on in the Netherlands. But this was mainly for the photographer to take a photo and then we can move on with it. That was it. Thank you.